Hello, everybody. This is Fork Poppy. Today I'm joined by Resto Kiki.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for coming on the channel. Today
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about something a little different. So I've mostly covered value vintage and a little bit of limited, but I'm wanting to branch out, diversify a little bit, and start learning about some different formats and also showcasing them on the channel, doing like a little format showcase. So today I'm going to talk about the other premier budget magic format known as Penny Dreadful. And Resto has been a very welcoming member of the community, helping me learn a little bit about it. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to maybe also teach some other people about the format. So in front of me here, I've got the meta breakdown. We're going to go over that a little bit. This is the tournament data for our current season. But do you maybe want to just go over the basics of what Penny Dreadful is?
sure. So Penny Dreadful used to be the reason it's penny is because it used to be literally a card that cost a cent on Magic Online would be legal. But then they changed that to 2 cents. So now the way it works, when a new standard set comes out, or sorry, every other new standard set that comes out, there's a bot that checks the price of every card on Magic Online for about a week. And then it sees that it's 2 cents, or if it's higher, then it's not legal. But if it's 2 cents or 2 cents or less, it's legal for the following season, and you can use any of those cards. And there's a lot of really cool cards you would think aren't like usually legal in other formats. Like we've had Nadu like for the last I want to say 4 seasons. Or we have Luris because Luris is banned in every format, so it's completely cheap. So we have some really cool cards that you wouldn't get to play with otherwise because they're broken cards, but they're really cheap. So you can rent them through Card Hoarder or Mana Traders. Those are like the big ones. They both have the ability, so you can play completely free and play whatever you want. It's really cool. There's tournaments every week. I should mention.
Yeah, yeah, 6 tournaments a week that are free entry in our prize, sponsored by Card Hoarder. That is really awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. And there's also big ones when the new season starts, there's the kickoff, and the kickoff has pricing all the way to top 32, and that's free entry as well. And then when the season ends, there's the PD 500, which is 500 ticks in pricing, and that is payout to top eight. But you can also get a buy for that tournament if you win one of those six a week tournaments during the season.
Yeah, so that's like multiple incentives to be present, be learning about the community and the format, be grinding and tuning your decks. And there's just is such great amount of competition I've noticed, like from those several a week tournaments, but also the league always running. Like it's very easy to get a match to fire, to get testings on your deck. The community has been very welcoming, but also very competitive minded. That's been really great to see.
Yeah, it's awesome. There are a lot of great players that play this format, and there's a lot of really cool decks, which we'll get into. But
Exactly. And
there's a lot of room for brewing. Is That's one of my favorite things about it.
yes, and so I'm just going to sort of frame some thoughts because my primary format is value vintage, which is the other big budget format, and the way that these differ is pretty fascinating. Like obviously, just on that surface level, like Penny has no paper play, but it has much more frequent online play, and it does actually have prize support, which that's great. I think it's a little bit easier to get a pickup game, so I think there's definitely merit to giving both a try because you're more likely to be able to find a game at the time when you're able to. But just in terms of the
Absolutely.
card pool is the biggest thing. Like you mentioned, Nadu and Luris being legal because they're banned everywhere else, and that's a problem for us. Major problem in Value Vintage. Nadu is our top deck, tier zero, by a pretty large margin because it is
Oof.
banned in every constructed format. No one's buying it. Its price is never going to go up, so it's pretty much uncontested. Like are the current, the only ban list being the price is not something that's going to affect it. So that's a bit of a boogeyman for us right now. But the native decks in this format, and we're going to look at one in just a moment, they don't have free targeters at the very least. They don't have Shuko, Nomads, and Core. They play it like I guess a
Nope.
little bit closer to how it was designed, right? As a relatively slow card advantage engine or like a just a difficult to interact with threat, which is definitely much more fair and less oppressive.
We did
And
have in one season. We did have the what is the name of the card? The core.
There's a few.
Um,
But one of the free targeting for.
one of the we did have a free targeter, but they usually only played a one of copy because it forced you to be in the banned version.
Yeah.
And that tournament, actually, the deck that won wasn't even playing the card,
There you go. I mean, that's
if I
definitely
remember
indicative.
correctly. So it was a Simic version.
And you can see here, yeah, just on this meta breakdown of these top like 16 decks, three of them are different color pair, different variants of Nadu that are going to have some cards in common, but also like still room to brew around it. And none of them are that like oppressive tier zero fast combo deck like we have in BB. And in
Which is
terms,
great because
definitely,
it's kind
that's
of
my
really annoying to
preference.
play against.
I know. And one of the biggest changes you'll also notice in deck building is the mana bases. Like mana bases in PD, the prices on these cards digitally are so different than they are in paper, where it's very easy to build a mana base of predominantly like shock lands and fetch lands, as opposed to being
Well,
stuck
no
with
fetches.
pains and storms. Or I'm sorry, yes, fast lands and shock lands,
Yes.
which feels a lot more smooth. It makes these 3, 4 color piles much cleaner. Definitely not as much so as like a fetched constructed format, but it does leave a lot of room for brewing. Like you'll see a lot of cards that just you've never heard of being played here. It can sometimes be difficult in a way where like if you're trying to build like something of a synergy pile from the ground up, you might have an enabler in your mind, but not know that oops, it's 3 or 4 cents. It's not going to be legal for this season. So that can be difficult for me coming from different formats where like I have a decent wealth of knowledge of cards. I can picture, what things I like to pair with one another, but it's not in my brain whether it's legal in Penny or not. So that has been a
Yeah.
deck building hurdle for me to overcome.
The good thing about like brewing in PD though is when the new sets drop and we get the new season, after about a week, Scryfall has done us a great boon, and they will put all the legal cards on, so you can put like this is the kind of effect that I want in the Scryfall searcher. If you know how to
Yes.
use the Scryfall searcher, there's a lot of things that you can use to like what's similar to this kind of effect,
Yeah, you just need to
and
add
that's how
is
you find
legal
a lot of these
PD.
weird cards.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, people
Yeah.
have done some pretty incredible brewing. And yeah, we have some great resources to help with brewing and competing in the format. Obviously, Scryfall is going to be the biggest, but I did find deck building on Moxfield to still work great. We've also
Yes.
got the Penny Dreadful website. That's what the leagues are ran through. It compiles this data and Gatherling, which is the tournament hosting software where we do those free prized events. So there does seem to be a lot of support and people working in the background to make sure that the format's as successful as it is.
Yeah. It's really great.
So let's go ahead and check out a couple of these top decks here. First, we're going to look at is it Splinter Twin? This is a recent 6-0 list from a Gatherling tournament. And it seems like the twin combo is going to be the premier win con for a lot of these control piles, where this is basically just, is it control pile going to run some card advantage, some interaction? And then it does have a little bit of other top end, but it's mostly just looking to close with your Pestermite and Splinter Twin. What do you think about this deck as a part of the meta?
So Twin is like when you want to build a control deck in this current format, a lot of the question is why are you not playing Twin? Because it is that good.
Yeah.
But the cards in Twin, like there are things you can do. There are people who have played Twin with Madcap Experiment as a backup
Mm-hmm.
against like the aggro decks. Um, because you are playing a lot of non-basic lands and pop is a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so being able to like mono red is not particularly great into counter magic protecting a platinum Empyreon. Uh,
That makes sense.
like this list, I really like the Academy Lore Masters. Um, they they look kind of weird, and it's one of those cards you're talking about before, where it's not one you've ever really seen
No,
before.
you're
It's not
not
a card
playing
that
this
you would.
anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, but it's really cool because of how this deck wants to operate. It works a lot like old Modern Twin when it was good, where you're playing a lot on your opponent's turn.
Yes, you're gonna just draw.
And
Yeah,
you're Yeah, so you just always draw with the lore master because you're not doing anything anyway. Well, not always, of course, it's contextual, but like
sure.
it's
But a
pretty
lot of how
free.
you're gonna play your early mid game and a 2 mana 3 toughness blocker with how good red deck wins, Boros Legends, like the aggro decks of the format are. That's very real as well.
Yes. So I like Twin a lot. I have only played it once this season. Um, I we'll get into what I've decided to do for control.
Hmm.
But I do think Twin is in a really good position, and it's a great deck to start with if you know a lot of the like flow charting for as one of my friends says, for the deck. If you're really good at the heuristics of this kind of deck, it's
Hmm.
very rewarding.
Yeah, and I
Um,
love me some, like control deck with a combo pivot, and this is kind of the original. Like it does look like it would play very similar to when the deck was first running around in Modern. That was when I first got into Magic. So,
nice. Yeah, I got into Magic in Bonds roughly. So,
oh yeah, yeah, that was yeah just a bit after me. I was like RTR Theros. I was in middle school, and I really wanted to play Modern when Twin and Affinity and Melira Pod were the top decks.
well, okay.
So
So I
Affinity
should
was one of
justify.
my boogeyman.
I was playing like kitchen table Magic during Lorwyn, but
Oh, okay, yeah,
I didn't start doing tournaments until cons, and I got like an infect deck for Modern. That was what I
nice.
played a lot of infect. Yeah.
I don't think that's
So
something we have to worry about here, luckily.
it was at one time. It was my first big tournament loss of a 500 was actually in the top eight to infect that won that whole
Huh.
tournament. So it
Okay.
sometimes it happens if, but not
Hey,
this season. This season it's not here,
it
but
seems
it
like
is
these
here
rotations
sometimes.
are really big shakeups, which I like. Yeah, nothing ever gets
Yeah,
too
it's
stale here.
awesome.
And then
Yeah.
we're going to check out a Bant Nadu pile. This is a list that I've actually gotten to play against. This is the Watch Wander. This seems to be approximately the most popular variant of Nadu. And like I mentioned, this is going to be non-combo. This is a little bit more of like a mid-rangey control list where you're just going to use creatures like Agent Bishop and Luminarch Aspirant or Pippin to get your 1 to 2 Nadu triggers a turn, and then some interactions, Spell Clair, Spell Pierces, uh, and just produce like a huge buffed board, sometimes with flying. So it can have some faster draws. It can have like those grindy bury you in card advantage draws, or just like a nice mid range trade 1 for 1, swing at you with a 4/5 flyer. I should I guess highlight Hex Parasite. Has actually been a very
Yeah, that
impactful
is
card this season. This is the closest thing to a free targeter. It's more like an Unctus, I guess, if you're familiar with Nadu and CDH, where it's not free. It's 2 life per, but this can get pretty out of hand.
yes. Hex Parasite's your big way of doing free targeting in PD. One of my friends has been doing Unctus with Nadu as well this season.
Hmm.
um, and that also kind of functions similarly. But most of the Nadu decks are playing Hex Parasite as the free targeter.
Yeah,
And the good thing is that is the deck that like really punishes Nadu is the aggro decks, the decks running pop.
yeah.
So Hex
Don't let
Parasite
you
being
pump
your free targeter,
14 life into that because I can hit you for 6
yeah,
easily.
yes. So you have to be very careful when you go for the Hex Parasite lines, but it is very strong still.
That makes
Um,
sense. And yeah, I'm looking here. This is a very greedy mana base. There's almost
Very,
no
very greedy.
basics. Some painful lands in here too. It definitely needs to
Yes,
be able to stabilize pretty quickly and play smart into aggro.
for sure.
And then the next list we're going to highlight is your list. This is people call it like Demir Hacktivist or April. This is the what people have referred to as the titular card. I remember people were pretty excited about this in Modern. I don't know if it actually ended up going anywhere, but talk to me about your theory in constructing this deck and how it's been playing for you.
So I should say I'm not the one who created this deck. My friend, I believe it was either Chicken in the Brain or Datribino or I'm not sure. It was one of my friends because they've been talking about this for a while. But
Hmm.
the one of the big advantages of playing this deck is we have Dark Ritual this season,
Yeah,
and a turn two a turn two April O'Neil Hacktivist.
that'll draw
That's like
two
the
cards at least right then.
Yes, exactly. Which means if this creature survives till the end of your turn, like let's say you cast her normally, which doesn't happen all that on off, like it does happen.
Hmm.
She's usually a 1 for 1, 2 for 1, sorry, because they have to remove it. It
Yeah,
has to get taken away. And then with Dark Ritual, it's even more. It's multiple cards in, and then with like Oil Gear Hulk, which is an artifact creature, so that on its own is going to draw you 2 cards. But
hmm.
the big one is Arcane Proxy, getting back Profane Tutor. Getting back Profane Tutor, you tutor for a card, any card you need, and then you get 3 cards on your end
Yeah,
step.
sorcery and
Because
artifact and creature. Wow. Yeah, that's
yeah,
nuts.
yeah. Uh, so it's a little weird with all the one-ofs and things, but it's
Hmm.
because you have access to the profane tutors and you're drawing so many cards off of April and Malcolm.
Yeah, that makes
Malcolm, I
sense.
think, is one of the best blue creatures in the format.
Yeah,
There are people playing it in Twin as well, but not the list we were looking at, but there are people playing it in Twin. I think it has a good place there.
hmm no, this
Malcolm
is a
is a
great
card
like
I don't
tempo
think
style
about.
creature. It's one that I wish we got in VV, but it's like just under $2, so I haven't gotten to play with it very much.
Yeah, it's great. It does a lot. The secondary mode of casting a spell just it's not real, really. I mean, it
No,
happens, and when it happens, you're really
it's
happy
all
about it.
gravy. Yeah,
Yeah, but looting every single turn and being able to filter your cards and hitting for two is just it's just gravy. Like, and it it's what I want to say about this. It's like, um one of the best reasons to be in this deck, I think. Both April and Malcolm together, just really good
yeah,
synergy
that
together.
makes sense.
Um,
And yeah, I really like this build with the profane tutors. I used to play with this a little bit in modern, and yeah, we can see like yeah, it's just like really great to have this low opportunity cost. Like, yeah, let me just I could play a couple of wraths. I'm not going to draw them if I don't need them, but I'll have a tool to find them. Or like the forbid lock if you're going to draw enough extra cards off your April. Like that's really sweet.
yes,
And in
yeah,
my
and you have another.
what
Hmm?
were you gonna say?
Let's say we play another Forbid in the sideboard for the matchups where you really want that lock.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this observationally, Dark Ritual I think is maybe the most broken card aside from maybe Nadu in the format. I've seen a little bit of this. It is so strong. Like there is no other really broken mana acceleration, not at this rate. And like this is a pretty fair thing you're doing with it. It's definitely still very strong here, but like it's also enabling those reanimator decks that we saw were very high up in the metagame. And
Yes,
it's really hard to contest a good Dark Ritual hand as any sort of fair deck.
for sure. When the season first started and we knew we had Dark Ritual, which we have had it in the past, and it's done a lot of crazy stuff. Like we've had Oops All spells before. um,
Oh wow.
yeah. So when we first had it, people were trying to do things with like casting a bunch of one mana 2/1s off of your Dark Ritual, or casting. I played it. I won a tournament against someone who had a. They were playing like a sacrifice deck. I believe it was pioneered by my friend down to Value Town, where they were like Dark Ritualing out Geralf's Messenger. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things are doing are fair, but then the unfair thing is, like you said, the Reanimator decks, and then also on the same vein as that, the Necrotic Ooze decks,
Yeah.
where they can kill you on turn two if they have a really good Dark Ritual hand.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying.
It is, but there's answers. We
Well,
have
sure, yes.
recipes,
Yeah,
and
finally have a piece of one mana hand attack and duress.
yeah. Sometimes you don't get duress in this format, which sucks.
I
But when
know.
we do get it, we love it.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. All right, and then let's go ahead and look at a couple that I have been playing. And obviously, I didn't completely make these from scratch. I tweaked some numbers, to my liking, but I had no idea what was going on in the format. So I just wanted to grab a couple of decks that looked interesting to me and try a couple swaps. So this is mono red equipment built around Fervent Champion, and we also got Raubon as our other way to break equipment. We're going to look at our equipment suite here. Is going to be 4 Leyline Axe, 4 Dragonfire Blade, and 4 Chainsaw are sort of the main ones where I've always wanted to do Leyline Axe Dragonfire Blade with Fervent Champion in Modern, but it's not quite there, right? And it's also playing a couple of swords, which I don't think most people would expect to see in Constructed. But they play a
not
lot
these
better than you
days.
think. No. But with two
Yeah.
different ways to lessen that equip cost, and then just a couple of other really efficient, cheap red threats, and a little bit of burn to push the last point to damage. We can also highlight, like you mentioned earlier, Price of Progress out of the side is a really great tool at reach for aggro decks, especially into some of the less fair things or things that can go over the top of it that exist in the meta, such as Nadu. But so this played a lot, like very well. This is really fun. My first league, first ever games in the format. I 4-1 on this, and then I played in the tournament, where I believe I 2-2 or 3-1. And I'm not saying it's necessarily a top deck, and there's probably some spots that you can tweak, but this is a very fun one, and we will be showing you some gameplay with that. And then other list I've been tweaking is a favorite of mine, also from Modern, is Hardened Scales. this is something I've tried to do in the other formats I've liked in Value Vintage and Australian Highlander, and it just doesn't work. And here, obviously, you'll probably catch right away if you're familiar with Hardened Scales. We are missing Arcbound Ravager, but pretty much the rest of the deck is here. Got Hardened Scales, got both Ozoliths, got Zabaz, Worker, Steel Overseer, and no Ballista as well. But we do have Hanger Back and Market Back. Uh, this deck just feels so nice. It's like such a satisfying, this sort of like aggro combo, math, heavy synergy kind of list, where it can have just some incredibly nuts draws, some really like interesting decision points you have to make. Like you have to play this deck very smart, and I don't think that I necessarily was doing that right off the bat. There's a lot of pretty complicated choke points for playing this deck perfectly, and it is going to have some worse draws. That is something that I noticed, because it doesn't necessarily mull great, and we're missing one of its most important tools in Arcbound Ravager. But
Yeah, not having Rock Bound is rough.
it's big. But overall,
Yeah.
it played a lot better than I expected. And if this still exists, for the rest of the season, I'm definitely going to be interested in trying it out, tweaking it a little bit more.
I played a similar. It wasn't um hardened scales, but I played an artifact. I played a tempered steel list that was kind of similar
Mm-hmm.
to this, playing Iron Spider and Steel Overseer, and Iron Spider impressed me, but then I ended up trying to cut it to see if like Steel Overseer is better, and they're both like really interesting, especially when you have hardened skills. Where I
Yeah,
wasn't playing hardened skill and relying on tempered steel mostly, it wasn't as good. So I think here it looks very interesting. I think
yeah.
Iron Spider. The cool thing about Iron Spider being able to like attack and activate in the same turn is like
Well, that is very real. Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't get to see very much of it because, like, I'm just on the one of copy, and it was
right.
pretty often one of the first things that I would board out just at 3 mana. But with the,
Same.
the with the pace of this format, like, you can justify, the occasional 3 mana grind piece, and it is a pretty good one, all things considered. And some games will go grindy as well. Like this deck is good at just producing really good blockers as well, or like gaining incidental life, like from Teething Wormlet, where even if you're not winning the game right away into any other sort of fair decks, you have the ability to, stuff like Iron Spider, Steel Overseer, Animation Module. You can continue to grind and scale your board out of reach at just, and take a good amount of time to stabilize because you're just going to be making such a huge board. And some of these creatures, you just do not want to trade with one for one because, like, oh, a modular creature is a killer trump blocker because then I can put its counters plus an extra onto my market back, or I'll also bank the counters on an Ozolith, where it makes combat very complicated. Even if you're not on a super aggressive draw, you can sometimes win games that you might not think you were going to.
I love Gargadon here, by the way.
Oh yeah, see, without Ravager, I wanted another sack outlet, and I somehow this is legal. The mana base, I definitely did not feel too confident in. Like I wanted to be able to activate at least Zabaz's red ability as my sort of pseudo sack outlet. So that was where I started. It was like four stomping ground for Copperline Forge. Then I thought, all right,
Yeah.
I don't have much evasion, right? We can't Urza Saga for Shadow Spear, so maybe I am going to need to be able to give Zabaz flying. And then that also lets me play Skrelv out of the sideboard because I didn't want to, be like putting all my eggs in one basket, scaling up one creature really big, and then just lose it one for one to a removal spell. Where I think there are a lot of decks that pack a ton of burn spells and removal spells, and I think it's pretty
So
low
one of
opportunity
the
cost.
one of the cards that I don't know that it would be good here because you're how fast you're trying to go, even though you are still trying to go for the top. But it is good with Gargadon. Is a lot of the artifact decks, and mine included, were running Power Depot. Um,
I think that could easily be a one or two of. Yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely not bad.
yeah, and that also activates Zabaz, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah,
True, that is very real. I always felt it was like not quite up to snuff in the modern version. That's why I sort of skimmed over it. But obviously, we're not going to be at that level, right? We're not trying to be. So,
yeah.
all right. So I think that kind of covers a lot of the decks. All in all, I have obviously there's a lot more to the meta, right? But I've had a great time getting into the format, and I definitely recommend that people try it out. It is cheap to free to play. There is regular competition and a great community around it, and we're going to now showcase a couple of matches on those lists that I just showed.
Nice.
So, conveniently, our first match here is going to be a match between the two of us. This was that mono red equipment list against your Demir Hacktivist list. And I know we talked about it a little bit just before. These matches were maybe not the most excellent showcase of your list, so I apologize.
No, it's okay.
But I think they were pretty fun
I, I
games.
I made a couple mistakes, but we did have.
Yeah, we had some good back
I'm
and
not sure.
forth.
Yeah, for sure. I think we definitely did.
And this was my first league, and this was also when we had our first conversation. You told me about these free events, and I had never known about this, so this is my effort to sort of spread the word a little bit. For other people looking to play good competitive budget Magic, this is seemingly one of the best ways to do so. I had a terrible hand, a terrible draw. I don't really know what I was thinking, frankly. I guess I was thinking I'd find a land eventually, which I do,
Which you did. Yeah, you
but not
did.
quickly. Like, if you had a well placed counterspell or removal spell here, I'd kind of be doing a whole lot of nothing. We are
I
seeing
was
Mal-
digging for it. I don't think I
Yeah,
found it.
and the Malcolm is looking pretty good here. Like, you were able to trade one and then still drop a second. You're still card selecting, and there's April. Only one card drawn off it, but it is still a 1/5. It's not easy to swing into unless, for example, you could just put a Leyline Axe on for free. And this is a bit of a decision point. I decided to just kill the Malcolm rather than kill the April. I think I could see it either way, but I was prioritizing having those shrapnel blasts available because that is just lethal. Like I could
Yeah, you can just
next
point it at
turn
my
blast you
face.
once, the turn after that blast you again, and you're dead, regardless of what my board looks like. And that definitely had to feel bad to go disfigure, which doesn't even kill the Raubun, pay the ward, arcane proxy back, dealing four to
Yeah, which
you.
it does. So I made a mistake here. I could have. I think I had another disfigure in my hand at this point. And then I forgot about the hexproof that was given by the. Um,
Mm, mm-hmm.
so I needed to do it right then, and I didn't, and I was dead.
I see. And yeah, I decided to go for the swag approach. As I play a fervent champion, I drew give it protection with the blade, and then burn your blocker and swing for damage. And important here, I wasn't like
Yeah,
super confident. Like I don't think I need the chainsaws too bad because like sure they kill Malcolm, but they don't kill April. I decided to just put in swords that are the colors your deck is, where a light and shadow can protect from a disfigure, doomblade type effect.
makes sense.
Body and mind, all your blockers seem to be blue.
You brought in the pops, right? My deck does play a lot of non-basics.
I didn't in this match, and I don't really know if I had much of a reason for that, but it wasn't something that was on my radar yet. Where I mean, I had never seen the deck before, but now I think I definitely
Sure.
would at least maybe two copies or so, just as that bit of extra reach. Wait for you to tap down, for an instant Malcolm or something, and send it. But this is very fun. The Fervent Champion Leyline Axe draw is like exactly why I wanted to play this deck. And this is
Yeah.
going to be fragile to second removal spell, but if I get to stick that Dragonfire Blade, which I do, I mean, look at that. 8/8 double strike, or 4/4 double strike trample with hexproof is pretty incredible.
Not much you can do about that, and I get
No.
obliterated.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to, yeah. And then here we are playing against your White Weenie, White Humans, which I am seeing seems to be like probably the most entered tournament deck or something like it, at least over these past couple of
Yeah.
weeks. I played one event, it was 9 people, and 4 of them were on humans.
Roboton keeps doing well with it, so a lot of people are like, I'm gonna
Yep,
also go
it
that route
must
with
be
it, which
good,
is logical. Yeah, which is
which it does
logical. It
seem
is a
really
very
good.
good deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was happy to be able to put up a match on it on my first run. I think this was in my first tournament that I played.
Oh, nice.
Where it's definitely not going to be a free matchup. In some of the later tournaments I played, I was trying to bring like much more silly weird brews just to kind of see what limits I could push,
That's a good
and
draw.
that is the kind of thing that humans punishes very well, frankly. So
Yes, it's true.
and here we're kind of just in a stare down. Like I have a decent bit of board presence, but nothing can swing into a Thalia, and I can't really answer the Thalia. Like a 3 mana shrapnel blast would not feel very good.
For sure.
Not that I can even
This is a
cast
very
it.
awkward position. Yeah.
It is. But that
There's the chain lightning for
makes a
the
little bit more sense, yes. There's
yes.
an argument that it could have been placed on the champion there, but I know that I
Grave the
will
elements and
most
guessing.
likely
Oh
be
wait, they can't
able
cast
to.
it.
I think he's trying to activate Iganjo. Or, no, it could have been Break the Elements, you're right, yeah. But through the Thalia attacks, couldn't cast it. But now we at least get to start swinging with our bow mats. I don't mind trading one of those for a soldier, which, presumably is not going to happen. But it does. So that's fine. I'll still have that other one with 3 cards under it to flip in the subsequent turns if necessary.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I actually showed it, but these human decks do all get to play Luris,
Yes, they do.
which is pretty terrifying. That
It's
that
one of
is
the big
some
reasons to be in
inevitability.
humans.
Yeah,
Humans and legends both get to play Loris.
Delirious is
Uh,
really good, it turns out, and
yeah.
no extra opportunity cost really because in VV it's scaling down a little bit because it's about 250. That's just eats a really good chunk of your budget, and that's nothing to worry about here. You just can do it. We have Gigantha as well. I partnered or companion Gigantha in this equipment list, but it doesn't really do much of anything, frankly.
I mean, it's there. It's your, as we say, it's your emotional support moose, right? Like,
Exactly, yes. Where yeah, it's just low opportunity cost. Why not? Uh, and yeah,
yeah.
that game was kind of a beating.
I like
Like
bringing in the chainsaws.
yeah, I wanted to max out in chainsaws for this tournament. I tried going a 2-2 split main and side because there just seemed to be a few creatureless decks in the format, or de- decks that weren't playing creatures with toughness 3 or less early game. Uh,
Yeah.
it was bad. Just play the chainsaws main. They're really good.
Yeah. I see the logic, but a lot of the people are playing like humans and legends, and
Yeah, those decks are
there's just a
just
lot of
so
creatures.
good that you need to
Yeah.
have the proper answers for them.
I'm
Light and
playing
Shadow.
four disfigure, even though, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Light
for the
and
same
Shadow
reason.
here, though, oh my god. I love me some Light and
True.
Shadow. Back in the day, Casual Commander, Akiri, uh, and with Lightning Axe, it turns out, double striking sword triggers feels really good.
Really? I've never heard that before.
Yeah, not the kind of thing you get to do every day. And of course,
Oh, and
never
then
punished,
perfect.
just perfect draw. And now we can do our double
Oh my
striking,
god.
pro white, unblockable.
My goat. My goat. Just
Yeah,
honestly,
let me
my goat.
deal a quick little 14-point life swing to the aggro deck. And that was all luck. I will not deny it. But
You
that's
also
why
get
you're
the
happy to
Raban
have
back
that kind
here,
of tool.
though.
I do, yeah. And I get to, or I can decide whether to spend a chain lightning on what is basically a Dauntless Bodyguard. But I mean, I feel pretty good. I don't think that my opponent here will have a colorless answer to this Fervent Champion wearing all this equipment. So they should be pretty close to dead just next turn, frankly.
Yeah, they don't have any. I mean, there are colorless answers in the format. I think we have like Ratchet Bomb and stuff, but they're not going to play that hero.
Sure,
It's
no.
humans, so you've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Or this is pretty packed up. And that would be a pretty terrifying board if that were not the draw I was
Ah.
on. But it does pack it in. And here we get to do pretty much the same thing. No sword off the bat. But I decided to take the chance of like I'm gonna, make this a 3/3 with double strike and trample. That's gonna
Yeah,
be
no, that
pretty
makes
hard to
sense.
answer on turn one.
For sure.
And one other ad I didn't highlight this during the deck tech. I I've seen a few people wanting to do a couple of like utility lands in this list. I think there's room to. Like it's just 18 mountains. I added a secluded Starforge, which looks really good. I've not seen that in many decks in this format, but I feel like for one of these, artifact synergy type piles, that's a nice little bit of extra reach.
That
Of
is not a
course,
card I've heard of, so I'm looking it up right now.
yeah,
Tap X artifacts you control. Target you... Oh, that's sick!
right,
I like that. I like that a lot.
yeah. I think it's a
Like
pretty
it's
nice
a
include here.
one of?
Just a one of,
Yeah.
yeah. It could probably be two. You really need that first one, definitely one, arguably two red pips, but there are a lot of colorless cards in the deck as well, and a lot of generic pips. Like,
And you only
eh,
ever need like one or two red, to be honest.
yeah, at a given
So
time,
18 mountains should be perfectly fine.
exactly. So while we're just kind of waiting for this stalled out board to move, one thing I didn't get to mention yet is that as of today was our supplemental rotation for the Marvel Superheroes set. So as you mentioned, it's only every other set that we get a full rotation. With the supplementary rotation, no cards are removed from the pool. Cards from other sets are not checked. It is only what has come out in the new set that hits that 2 penny or less mark. So is there
Yes.
anything from Marvel that looks interesting to you that you want to brew with or play with?
I haven't checked yet, so let's find out
Hmm.
while we wait. Let
So
me.
I can kind of spoil it a little bit. It's all uncommons and commons. No rares are legal. Allegedly, some sets take a little bit longer for the prices on their rares and mythics to settle digitally. So the power levels is not very high. I do have exactly one brew in mind that got 2 cards from this, but I kind of don't want to give it away because I kind of want to do a video on it. So it's
Oh,
not
I
nothing, but
can't
it's not a lot.
rifle either. I
Uh,
don't know.
it did get
Where did
posted
you search?
today in the general. Tom Sonic posted it,
Okay,
but it
okay,
might be a little
okay.
far back there.
All
Oh,
right,
but
let
you
me
can see
find
there,
it.
yeah, that was very nice. The Rub-On was never able to actually get dealt with in combat. They didn't find the second kill spell, and then I'm able to just burn out with the Shrapnel Blast. And these matches on hardened scales, I was actually not recording, but I felt like they were just really good games, so I pulled them from the replay. So they're going to move really fast. This first game was a major misplay on my end. I cycled my Ozolith instead of hard casting it. But after that, I am able to stabilize decently. And then I get hit with this 5 mana Duretti reanimating Platinum Imperion. And as the deck that I am, I have not got a main deck answer to that. So I just decided to pack it up pretty quick. But so this is like your Dimir Reanimator, Trash for Treasure, Duretti. Uh, and it seems like what this format's version of Soul Guide Lantern is Silent Gravestone. Does seem like it hits most everything that the Reanimator decks are trying to do, at least for a turn. So I board in a playset of those, as well as some Glorious Decays, and I just mull till I find it. So this is a Hardened Scales Wormlet draw that also happens to have a Gravestone. There, I have the option to play out second Scales, second Gravestone, but I opt for the Overseer because, as I suspected, yep, it's just gonna eat a burn spell.
Makes sense. So looking at the new cards, the one that interests me the most is one I was talking to some of my friends about for other formats as well, like actual vintage, which is Shuri. Um,
Oh, sure, he does look very interesting. Yeah,
yeah. In vintage, it's an untapper for time vault, but
obviously, yeah.
yeah, but there's still some really cool. Well, it's not an untapper, but it's like an untapper for on time vault.
He'll fill that role.
But
Yeah.
yeah, um, but it's like an Ethereum sculptor that does a lot of like it has a lot more utility. So there are some things I could think of doing with it that I'd like to try. Maybe like a devoted madcap experiment artifact. Oh, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind. Right, never mind. You can't do that. You
Uh,
can't do that. Nope, 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 nope. I always forget you can't have other artifacts with your platinum Empyreans.
oh, right. Yeah. You can have artifact
But
tokens. You can do the creativity thing.
yes, you can. I think we've had creativity before, but we haven't had it in a long time.
Oh, unfortunate.
Um,
Uh,
yeah.
this game was real quick. Again, my opponent just did not have the answer for the Silent Gravestone, and I get to do a fun little Throne of Geth counter shuffle, move things around. But all in all, those are the 2 decks that I've had the most success with so far. They're definitely not top tier decks, but they were a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to doing some more brewing in the space, especially now that we got a couple fun cards in the pool. Do you have any
Yeah.
closing thoughts for today?
No, I'm just excited that we'll be getting a lot more people playing, and this is my favorite format. I've been playing it since almost since its inception. I've been playing since Amonkhet, I
Okay.
believe.
Well, that's a good
One
cosign.
thing, yeah, one of the cool things you can do on the Penny Dreadful website is you can look at every deck that's been played once a league is completed or a
Mm-hmm.
tournament's been completed, so you can get an idea of what's really like. You can look at it yourself outside of just the metagame thing. It gives you the full deck list,
Every
so you can
list
get
that
a
someone
cool
played in a tournament or event, you can learn what cards are in the pool, what you need to have in your sideboard, for example.
yes, it's awesome. There's a lot of great people that are behind this stuff. I want to thank them for, you know, all the effort they put into it. JMecca, Caitlin. Um, is it Caitlin? I'm sorry, I might be getting it wrong. I know, I know her as Salisari.
Mhm.
Um, but she's
Yeah, we do
awesome.
tags here.
She runs the websites. Everybody that's involved with that, I just want to thank them for it because this is such a great format. If you want to play a budget format, that changes a lot without like having the detriment of you lose a bunch of cards that you invested in because you can just rent it. So like you never actually have to lose when things change in standard. You lose money. It doesn't feel great.
No.
But in Dreadful, it doesn't really happen like that.
So you don't need
So
to invest any overhead, yeah. And that was something I mentioned also wanted to mention in juxtaposition to value vintage is that is a major barrier that people have with value vintage is, my deck might rotate out. The prices might increase by just the next time I go to F&M. Here, those prices are going to be locked for a couple of months. So you're going to have a little bit more security, but still, with the intention that it will rotate, it will be a different format soon. That's something you can brace yourself for.
yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I think that about wraps it up. Thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you in the next one.